are permanently assigned as circuit overseer, but for the last 8 months we've been substituting as the district overseer.
Routine?
So it's basically the same type of a week that a circuit overseer does, although we don't have all the meetings here at the Kingdom Hall. At the Pioneers have that annual meeting with the overseer. So that's nice. Every week we get to be with the pioneers. They're so enthusiastic. They're so happy to be given this nice attention. And then, of course, on the weekend, it culminates in the nice 2-day circuit assembly. So this last year, we had the privilege of attending 24 circuit assemblies.
Wow.
I think it was in 4 different languages.
And those
5.
languages are?
English, Malay, Chinese, Tamil, which is an Indian language, and we even have one Japanese.
And which languages do you understand any of?
English and Malay, a little of Chinese.
Just words here and there.
Okay. Give us a little sampling.
Apa dengar, saudara Tim?
Tadi dia cakap dalam bahasa Melayu.
And this is obviously both Malaysian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a little Chinese?
Well, it depends on which dialect you want.
Well, of course, Mandarin.
Well, in Mandarin, one of the nice expressions they always say is directly translated just nice. Like, oh, that was just nice. So it is gong gong hao in Mandarin. But in Hokkien, Chinese, it is ngum ngum ho.
Cantonese?
I don't know that one.
Very interesting. Wow. So how many dialects of Chinese do you hear on a normal basis when you're around the Chinese brothers?
It depends. It depends on the area. Because in the northern part of Malaysia, they speak a certain dialect, Hokkien. And then down near the capital, Kuala Lumpur, they speak Cantonese. And then down towards Singapore and the most southern city of Malaysia, called Johor Bahru, they speak Mandarin and Hokkien as well, but it's a different type of Hokkien, and it's called something like Teochew, but it's very similar. And then over in East Malaysia, they speak another dialect called Fu Chao. And then over in North Borneo, where we were before, they speak something called Hakka. So they're all quite different, actually.
Now, Borneo is a separate island?
That's right. Yeah, that's in the eastern part.
And you fly over there?
Mm-hmm. It's like from flying from Avoca to Miami.
Not safe to cruise over.
No, I don't think they have any cruises over.
Tell us about some of the joys that you have come across, perhaps any Bible students who come to your mind.
We had some nice experiences in Singapore. The work is restricted there. It's not against the law to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses, but our literature is under ban. So when the brothers go preaching door to door, they just use a Bible, just a church Bible. They can't use our literature. But they're great at using their Bible.
Yeah, they're incredible.
And one of the big things is the brothers won't go to military training. So this sister knocked on the door. A man in a wheelchair, he had had a stroke, invited her to come in. And they had a wonderful conversation. And the man said, wow, in just these 10 minutes, I've learned more from you than all the years of mine going to church. And he goes, so who are you people? And she said, well, we're Jehovah's Witnesses. And the man said, oh, if I knew that, I wouldn't have invited you in. And she goes, may I ask why? And he said, well, you won't go to military training. So our sister asked, has anyone ever showed you from the Bible why we choose to do that? So he said no. So she showed him just a few scriptures from the Bible, what Jesus said. The man was satisfied. He started studying, and he was at the circuit assembly when we visited. We got to meet him in the wheelchair. He made all that effort to come. So yeah, some nice things are happening. The angels are working.
He made a special effort to come to that circuit assembly because he wanted to see how the baptism was done, and how if he was to get baptized, how they could get, yeah, arrangements in a wheelchair. And especially too, the assembly hall over there is different than Granville. It's it's 3 stories high, so it's not very long. It's not very long or very deep, but it's very tall. So we have to have video projectors and so forth. Like there's 200, almost 300 people can be on the top floor, but then the rest of it is, and that's where the program is generated, and then it gets broadcast to the other floors, and then the baptism pool is on the ground floor. And so that man really wanted to come and see how we do the baptism.
Do you want to tell about the baptism and the detention?
So one of the circuit overseers that we worked with, he of course was one of the brothers that went to detention. Actually, if you talk to almost every single elder and ministerial servant in Singapore, they are all brothers that went to detention over the years.
Jail.
Yeah. They call it detention because it's under the military. It's not civil. So anyway, this was in like 1989 or 1990. There was probably 25 or 30 of our brothers in there, and the ones that are in there the longest, they kind of take the lead. And so there was one brother that came forward that wanted to be baptized because he went in not baptized, which is not, it's not unusual, but it doesn't happen a lot. Most of the time they're already baptized, but this brother wasn't. So they went over the questions with him from our OM book from that time. They had smuggled in an OM book. I don't know how. They don't tell you how because it still happens. All this stuff is still happening, so they can't reveal how they do it yet. So they went over the questions, and he qualified for baptism. And in the meantime, they work in like a farm where they grew vegetables and so forth. They had received a lot of trust from the prison officials. So in the meantime, they had dug a small pool, and they had run pipe to the pool. They had put all the joints together and duct tape all the joints and hid it in the grass, and they filled up this muddy pool with the water, and they baptized this brother in this muddy pool. And now this brother is a Bethelite.
Wow, amazing. So is there much prison ministry there?
You mean like the prison ministry you do? No, there's none at all.
Oh, okay.
But I think the brothers are in prison 3 years, 3 months.
But that's military.
Right, but they have had experiences where they've shared the truth with others, and others have responded well.
Okay.
So the conditions inside that is not the easiest for the brothers. They have to live 4 men to a cell, and the cell is about the size from this wall to that side of the, well, not even that big, to the side of the podium, the lectern there. And it's about as wide as the stage. So 4 men, they have to sleep on the floor. They don't get any blankets or beds or anything like that. So they sleep 1, 2, 3, and then one man sleeps opposite at the other brother's feet. So they sleep 4 like that. And then the bathroom is right out in the open, so they have to do their business, they say, right in front of everyone. So that's not easy for them to get used to. And then their food comes, and it's all full of bugs and everything.
But it's amazing when you talk to these brothers, they'll tell you it was a good thing. It made them make a decision young to be sure what they wanted to do, and they're strong brothers.
Yeah, one brother told us it was the best experience in his entire life.
Tell us about some of your challenges. I suppose you bounce around a lot from week to week. You're in different locations.
Yeah, every week pretty much we sleep in a different place. When we left where we were serving in circuit work in Borneo to Singapore, we sold our car because in Singapore you really don't need it. You get on the train or the bus. But then we got called a month later to sub for the district overseer. So we didn't have a car, and we didn't know if it was going to be permanent. So we would travel circuit to circuit by bus or train or plane, or depending on how. So sometimes it's a bit tiring, but Jehovah gives us his
And
spirit.
that's pretty much Monday's travel day?
Monday's travel day.
Wow.
Yeah, there's no such thing as an off day.
Right, because you spend that off day getting to the next place. Wow. And then that Tuesday you're with the congregation, talk that Tuesday night.
So one other challenge that we face is, that I could think of is, as many of us know, the circuit overseer really doesn't have, and his wife, they don't really have much of their own ministry, like to do their own return visits. Now, if they go from visit to visit and keep their own little record, maybe 6 months later they could go back and try those return visits, and that's nice. The district overseer has even less, because he'll probably never make it back to that same congregation. And then when we go into Singapore, because of the nature of the work, the branch office has just asked us to be careful when we do house-to-house work, and even to maybe limit the amount of house-to-house work that we personally participate in.
So you don't get arrested?
Well, or not us in particular, because we won't get arrested.
Okay.
The government won't touch foreigners, but they might ask us to leave. But they don't want us to endanger the brothers and sisters there. So anyway, we've never had any sort of circumstance that has come up. However, we have to do a lot more return visit work and a lot more Bible study work. And that's nice, but if you don't have any of your own return visits or your own Bible studies, you're basically just following people from return visit to return visit to return visit, and it's not your own. So you don't really have your own ministry like in Singapore.
Okay.
I was just thinking of, but Jehovah gives you like treats, or like I was just thinking on the airplane ride home. Greg had a very nice experience with a man. I don't know if you want to share that.
Can I?
Please.
Yeah. So since we don't get an opportunity to preach to the Muslims in Malaysia and Singapore, because in Malaysia it's against the law, you cannot. But on the plane home,
You can preach to them.
yeah, and we rode on Kuwait Airways, which was 300 Muslims on the plane.
And they're leaving. They're not heading there.
That's right.
Oh.
So actually, I was sitting right next to this man from Pakistan, and he happened to notice Karen reading our yearbook. So he just asked, may I ask, he's very respectful, may I ask, are you and your wife Jehovah's Witnesses? So I answered yes. And I didn't really put together how he picked it up, because I was reading a watchtower, but you can't really tell from the watchtower. Anyway, he is a doctor. He's a Harvard graduate. He went to Harvard on some United States government sponsored scholarship. So he got his medical training at Harvard. So he knows about Jehovah's Witnesses from the aspect of blood.
Wow.
So I had an opportunity to witness to him. He said, he asked, now Jehovah's Witnesses have these beliefs about blood. Could you explain how you come about on that premise? But he wasn't aggressive at all. It was just information to him. But what's really nice about witnessing or talking to Muslims is that Muslims understand a lot of stuff that's in the Bible. For instance, about Abraham, obviously. They even look at Noah as one of their main prophets. So I just started back in Genesis chapter 9, on Noah coming out of the ark. And they're almost easier to witness to than a Catholic, because Catholics or some other religions, they may just look at some of these stories, some of them do, not all of them obviously, as a myth, but not Muslims. They look at the flood as it really happened. It's real, it's historical. Noah is a historical figure. Christ Jesus is even a historical figure. So it's almost like you can almost have a easier time talking to Muslims than you can sometimes people of certain Christian religions.
Interesting.
So in the end, he took a Bible teach book and the yearbook too, and gave us his address and all that. So
Here in the United States?
In
No.
Pakistan.
Oh.
Yeah, he said, if you're ever in Islamabad, just drop by. I said, okay.
Now, the $24,000 question, did you get his email address?
Yes. Yeah, we have the email.
So you really can reach out and touch him.
Yes, exactly.
Now, my mind is going as I'm listening to you. I remember two experiences from years back. One is the ship captain.
Yeah, we have an update, several updates on the ship captain.
Ah.
Yeah, so maybe many of you know about the captain. That if you hadn't heard it or if you've forgotten, he started studying in Osaka, Japan. He's a Filipino, and he was in Osaka because his ship starts out of Osaka, Japan, and goes all around Southeast Asia to Bangkok, Singapore, where we were, Kota Kinabalu, and all those places over there. So anyway, he told the brother that was studying the Bible with him he would like to study more because he only met the brother once a month. So the brother got in touch with the Malaysia branch because the man said he had a lot more time than he would normally in the Kota Kinabalu port. So that's how we met him. So we went to the ship and we had a really long, the whole morning we had a Bible study with him. We ate lunch on the ship. We even ate squid that was cooked by Myanmaris. It was really good. And so anyway, he came back to that port a few more times, but we didn't get a chance to meet up with him because one time he was only there for like a few hours in the middle of the night and some other strange things. And then his schedule got changed around, so we never met him again. But a couple of other brothers from Kota Kinabalu met him. And anyway, he kept on studying, and I think it was in 2009, February, he was baptized. Yeah, he was baptized in the Philippines. And he was really trying to help his family to latch onto the truth. He had 5 children, if I'm not mistaken. They were all Catholic, because most everyone in the Philippines are Catholic. And the wife at first resisted, but she was really impressed with some of the changes that he's made. He even changed his work because being on the sea, you can't really be with your family as much. So he made some changes. I don't know any of the details. But then we found out about 1 year later, sometime in 2010, she got baptized.
Wow, isn't that nice? So you can find out little details from your brothers back in Kota Kinabalu.
Well, from the brother that studied with him in Japan,
Oh, okay. All right.
who has now moved to Malaysia to serve with the Natus Greater.
Now, what about that village that you found with Google Earth?
An interesting thing about the villages, like this past year, the memorial, um, I think if I remember right, I think there were 5 memorials conducted in areas that don't even have congregations yet. The brothers are just traveling maybe 2 hours away once a week or twice a month and preaching. And these places where there's no congregation had memorial attendance 45.
And no witnesses.
No witnesses, 45, 56. One had a group of 8 witnesses and had 83 in attendance. So these are just places that are just waiting for brothers to come to take the lead.
And why is it that those 56 even knew about the memorial?
Because the brothers are traveling there
Oh,
once a
okay.
month,
Once a month.
conducting studies.
And also, maybe a few of the brothers and sisters know about a temporary special pioneer. Maybe you've ever heard of that, temporary special pioneer? Like you can go for 3 months. It's almost like auxiliary pioneering for a person that would like to special pioneer just to kind of see how. But the temporary special pioneer goes into a really isolated area and opens up the area. And then after their 3-month assignment is over, they give a report, their own personal report to the branch office. And the branch office decides if they want to send, if the area is like viable for special pioneers to go in and then establish something. So that's how some of these areas have been opened up, is by these temporary special pioneer campaigns.
Thank you so much for your experiences. I don't know, does anyone think of anything else that I left out? Anything? Angela? Go ahead.
I was wondering, nice out the places that you've seen. I was wondering if you saw more witnesses there than here.
That's a good question. Actually, no. Here's many, many more witnesses. Yeah, like in Malaysia, all of Malaysia, there's 3,600 witnesses. So that's like really a lot smaller than here. And Singapore has 1,600 witnesses. So there's about 5,500 witnesses in all of those territories, but you can't tell anybody about the 1,600. That's secret.
The secret. And what is the population for Malaysia? How many million?
About 28 million.
And Singapore's 5 million plus.
Wow.
In Singapore, we don't have any kingdom halls, so we just meet in houses. So, and they have little apartments because land's very expensive. So you're meeting in living rooms and you are literally elbow to elbow with your brothers on stools, sometimes on the floor.
Mm.
And they switch the place for the meetings.
So that way no one will
Yeah.
notice.
Yeah, the last congregation we visited in March in Singapore, they have 35 publishers, and they have 11 different houses that they meet throughout their territory.
35 publishers.
Yeah, I mean, one week they meet in one place, then the next week they meet in another.
We met a wonderful sister. Greg got to do a pioneer school this past year, and the oldest student, I think, how old was she?
87.
87. Back in the early 90s, there were some raids in Singapore where they came into the meetings and arrested some people. And the sister was arrested. She was 70 plus at the time. She had a choice if she wanted to pay a fine or go to jail.
Go to jail.
She said, yeah, I'm not paying a fine. I didn't do anything wrong. I was reading my Bible in the house with my friends. So they gave her initially, if I remember right, 3 years. But her husband wasn't a witness, and he was well known in the community, and it got cut back to a few months, not by her choice,
Right.
but by his. But she was willing to do it, and she's still pioneering. She can't hear very well, but she was at the pioneer school. So it's the joy of this work is seeing the brothers and sisters that you meet and what they do and how Jehovah supports them is amazing.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. When are you coming back?
Going back to Malaysia?
No, when are you returning back for another visit where we can interview you again?
Maybe in about 2 more years.
2 more years, okay. So we'll look forward to that. Well, I think that'll be all the time we have. We thank you, Sister Prentice. I thought that the part on patience tonight characterizes the ministry of a missionary. You have to have some patience to deal with new things, things that you're not used to, changes, persistence to continue to water those seeds of truth. So I'd say we certainly covered both that part and also the part on the effort to find Bible studies that we would have covered in our OD book. So we thank you, friends, for your attention to this, and we look forward to having a chance to talk with Greg and Karen after the meeting as well. To conclude our meeting, we're going to sing song number 103. So let's all stand and sing together song 103, and we'll call on Brother Wentz to close our meeting with the word of prayer.